Faculty of History. Today we are going to start modern Indian history. The first topic of the modern Indian history is advent of Europeans to India. That means Europeans, they came to India and they established their power in India. Coming to this point, whenever Europeans they entered into India, our Indian history entered into the modern Indian history. That means advent of the Europeans starts with the modern Indian history. In the 5th century AD, by the 15th century AD, by the 15th century AD, that means 1498, started coming of Europeans to India. These Europeans, the main purpose of the Europeans coming to India or advent of India, their main purpose was trade and commerce. Trade and commerce. This was the main purpose. Trade and commerce. Trade and commerce is the main purpose of the Europeans for the India. Next to who were the Europeans? They came to India. There were the 5 Europeans: Portuguese first, next Dutch, next English, next Danes, next French. These 5 Europeans, they came to India. They started from 1498 to almost 1670. By this period, all the 5 Europeans, they came to India. They established their trade centers in different places. Whenever they came to India, very soon they entered into the Indian internal affairs of the Indian rulers, internal affairs, and also they fought among them. Later they dominated the Indian politics. They enter into the Indian politics, they enter into the internal affairs of the Indian rulers, and also they dominated the Indian politics because Indian rulers are not unite. Indian rulers, they are going to fight each other, and British or French or other rulers, they used to give help to the weak rulers, helping the weak rulers, and a strong ruler will become weak. Strong ruler also will become the weak, because with the help of European traders, Indian weak rulers, they defeated the strong ruler. So strong ruler would become, what is that? Weak ruler. Strong ruler, he would become the weak ruler. That was happened of that period. So the major change, this is the major change turned into the history of the India. That is, they entered into the Indian politics. So first we will discuss the advent of the Europeans and later their political establishment in this chapter. Next, coming to the point of the introduction. In this introduction, originally there were 3 routes. Why the purpose of the Europeans, they came to India, and how they came to India. Originally, before the Europeans coming to the India, contact with Western countries. India contact with Western countries started even during the time of the ancient period. That is Indus Valley civilization period. Also, India made contacts with Iraq, Mesopotamia, and also Egypt, and also Greek. Iraq, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greek countries made trade with Indus Valley civilization period. After the Indus Valley civilization period, Aryans, they came to India from Central Asia. These people, they came to India from Central Asia. So Central Asian contact was there during the time of the Aryan period. After the Aryans, even coming to the point of next to pre-Mauryan period, that is from 6th century BC to 4th century BC. 6th century BC to the 4th century BC. This period, India had contact with even Western countries. During this period, Persians, they invaded on India. Persian invasions occurred. And after this Persian invasions, Greek invasions, Alexander invaded on India. Whenever Alexander invaded on India, he discovered way to India, that is Khyber Bolan passes. He came to India via Khyber Bolan passes. These Khyber Bolan passes were the passes to come to India, and he paved the way for the other rulers, those who came to India. After this, next to post-Mauryan period. During the time of the post-Mauryan period, that is the Satavahanas period and other periods, Greeks, Indo-Greeks, Sekas, Parthians, these were ruling India, Parthians and Kushanas. So these were the foreigners, they ruled India and they have contact with the foreign areas, like coming to the point of India of that period. In the western coastal, eastern coastal area. In the western coastal area, Broch, Sopara, Kalyana, Tuticorin, these are important seaports in the western coastal area. So Europeans, they contact with the western coastal area. Western coast is famous for the spices. Western coastal area is famous for the spices. And eastern coastal area is famous for the cloth, since from the ancient period. Western coastal area is famous for the spices, eastern coastal area is famous for the cloth. And whereas coming to the point of the eastern coastal area, Arikamedu, Mysolia, Tamralipti. Arikamedu, Mysolia, Tamralipti. Mysolia means Machilipatnam. These areas are important seaports to the western trade of that period. So they have contact with these seaports during the post-Mauryan period. Gupta's period, whereas coming to the point of the Gupta's period, slowly in the Gupta's period, western trade was declined, but Southeast Asian trade was continued. Southeast Asian trade, this Southeast Asian trade, it continued. Southeast Asian trade became very popular during the Gupta's period than the western trade, because by the Gupta's period, Holy Roman Empire was declined. Because of Holy Roman Empire declined, western trade from India to the European countries was damaged. So this happened. And after the post-Gupta period, 712 AD, that is in the post-Gupta period, around 712 AD, Muslim invasions started to India. That is Arabs, they invaded on India. But Arabs, they could not establish the empires in India. Finally, Arabs became mediators between the Asian countries and European countries. All the Asian trade was carrying to the European countries by the Arabs of that period. This Arab trade was continued up to 1453. What happened in the 1453? That I will discuss later. And there are three routes from India to the European countries. One is Silk Route, another one is via Persian Gulf, another one is via Erythraean Sea. This is the three routes coming from India to the European countries. So come to this in the yes, this is India. From India to the Silk Route, from China to Europe, this is a Silk Route. This is a Silk Route from China to European countries. That is one route from going from India will connect here. India route will connect here. This is one route to go to the European countries, one trade route. Another trade route was, this is Persian Gulf. This also connect here. This connects here in the, every route connects here at this place is called as Constantinople. Every route, either this route, either Silk Route, or what is that, Persian Gulf route, or third one is Mediterranean Sea route. This is Erythraean Sea route. All these routes are to connect the Constantinople. Constantinople it is meeting point of all the routes from India to the western countries. So there occurred three ways to go to the Asia to the European countries. One is Silk Route, another one is Persian Gulf route, another one is Erythraean Sea route. There are three routes. But each and every route, it is going to be connect with Constantinople. In India, coming to the point of the India, what are the things are exporting from India to the European countries in the ancient period? That is, cloth was main export from India to the European countries, and spices, cloth, along with this cloth, spices, perfumes. So these are main items to export from India to the European countries. Whereas coming to the point of the cloth, this cloth, Machilipatnam or Mysolia, this is very famous for the muslin cloth. This is like a curtain, Indian curtain. This is called as Indian curtain, very transparent. This cloth is very transparent and very thinnest one. Very transparent. So that's why this cloth is called as Indian curtain. Indian curtain was very demand in the European countries. That is, Greeks and Romans were called as Europeans. Europeans were called as Yavanas. So this is what called as Yavanika. Yavanika means Indian curtain. That is Yavanika, Indian curtain. So cloth is mainly exporting from Machilipatnam to the European countries. There is one saying about the Machilipatnam cloth, that is, the sari which is manufactured in the Machilipatnam can be folded into the matchbox. The sari which is manufacturing in the Machilipatnam can be folded into the matchbox. That is one saying. Okay, that was the cloth. And along with this cloth, the most important item which is related to the spices, that is black pepper. Black pepper is another most important item which is going from India to the European countries. Black pepper is called as Yavana Priya. They likes more this black pepper. How much they are liking this black pepper? If you come to that point, Greeks and Romans, they are going to give equal weight of the gold to the black pepper. They are going to give equal weight of the gold to the black pepper. Whatever the black pepper weight is there, same weight of the gold is going to give to the Indians. So that's why Pliny the Elder, who wrote the natural history, he wrote the natural history. Pliny the Elder. He is originally, he suffered a lot. Gold is draining from Rome to India. Gold is drained from Rome to India. Drain of gold from Rome to India. This concept was said by the Pliny the Elder. Almost he cried a lot. Gold is draining from Rome to India. That was the opinion of Pliny the Elder. And another one is coming to the point of the spices, Indian spices. What is the need of the Indian spices? What is the importance of the spices? If you add spices to the food, it will be very tasty. One is taste of the food, and if you add spices to the food, you can preserve more time, preservation. For the preservation of the food and for the taste of the food, one should needed spices. So Europeans, they habituated to have spices of India. In the ancient period, medieval period, suppose from 700 to 1453, this period, Indian trade was by the Arabs. Indian trade was maintained by the Arabs. That I told to you. Arabs, they maintained the Indian trade of this period. Arabs were mediators between the European country to the Indian countries, Asian countries. But this Arab trade was damaged by the Ottoman Turkish Sultan Muhammad II whenever he captured the Constantinople. Whenever he captured the Constantinople, he stopped the land route between Asian countries to the European countries. Who was that person? Ottoman Turkish Sultan. He captured that. Coming to this point. So here there is a Constantinople. Already we discussed that this is one Silk route from China to the Rome. This is a Silk route. This is a Persian Gulf route. This is Mediterranean Sea route. All these routes would touch at Constantinople. So all these routes connects at Constantinople. But this Constantinople was blocked in 1453. That was occupied by the Muhammad II. He was Ottoman Turkish Sultan, blocked the land route. This was the land route. Silk route is the land route. This land route was blocked from Asia to the European countries. So spices stopped all European trade. That is, stopped the trade from Asia to the European countries. Spices were stopped, cloth were stopped, and perfumes were stopped. Everybody stopped from Asia to the European countries. So in the European countries, there occurred the scarcity of spices, scarcity of the perfumes. By this, Europeans, they started to come to India. So in that regard, Portuguese were the first people, those who started to come to India. Portuguese East India Company. In the Portuguese East India Company, Henry, Portuguese ruler Henry. He was called as Henry the Navigator. Henry the Navigator. He was the first person who crossed the Mediterranean Sea. That means up to 1453, people, they are afraid of crossing the seas. They were not going to cross the seas. They were afraid of, they scared about the crossing the seas. But in this regard, Henry the Navigator, he crossed this Mediterranean Sea. Once he crossed the Mediterranean Sea and returned back to the Portugal. Once he crossed the Mediterranean Sea and returned to the Portugal. For what purpose? To bring some confidence. తానే స్వయంగా క్రాస్ చేసి వాళ్ళలో ఒక కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ నింపడానికి మెడిటరేనియన్ సీని దాటి మళ్ళీ రిటర్న్ వచ్చాడు. He himself crossed the Mediterranean Sea and returned back to the Portugal. Whenever he did that, people, they believed we can cross the seas. By this time, people, they trusted Henry the Navigator, and they are also going to cross this. And first person, Bartholomew Diaz. Bartholomew Diaz was the first sailor who started to cross the Mediterranean Sea, who started to discover the sea route to India. Their main intention, what was their main intention? Coming to that point, the main intention was, this is India. They have to come to India, but not the land route. They wanted to forget the land route. Not from the land route. They wanted to discover sea route, because if it is the land route, somebody can block the land route. But if you find sea route, nobody can stop from the sea route. That's why Portuguese were the first to discover the sea route. That is Bartholomew Diaz. Bartholomew Diaz. He was the first person who started from Portugal. This is Portugal. This is Portugal. Looks like enter into the Spain. Spain లోపలికి అలా గుచ్చేసినట్టుగా ఉంటుంది. It will be inserted into the Spain. This is Portugal. From here, Portugal, Bartholomew Diaz in 1487, he started to discover sea route to India. And according to their knowledge, how they wanted to go to India, how they wanted to discover sea route to India. According to their knowledge, India is in the south. So if they moved from here with the western coastal area of the western coastal area of the Africa towards the south, somewhere they would reach India. That was their main concept. ఇలా ఇక్కడ నుంచి సౌత్కి వెళ్ళిపోతే ఎక్కడో చోట ఇండియా వస్తుంది. సమ్వేర్ దే విల్ ఫైండ్ ద ఇండియా. దట్ వాజ్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ యూరోపియన్స్. బై దిస్ టైమ్ compass was also discovered by the compass needle was discovered by the China. And by this time they know earth is round, earth is like a globe. If you start from this place going to the south directly, somewhere they will touch the India. That was the concept. So Bartholomew Diaz, he started from this area. He started from this area. So he started from here. Bartholomew Diaz, he came to this route like this, and whenever he came to the end of the African continent, there he stopped in the end of the continent, because this is meeting point of two great oceans, Atlantic Ocean. Here it is a Atlantic Ocean, and here there is a Indian Ocean. Meeting point of the Indian Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. That means meeting point of two great oceans. There occurred storms. Too much of the storms are occurred here. That's why, because of that storms, he afraid, he scared, and he returned from that place. He kept this name as Cape of Storms. Cape of Storms. Bartholomew Diaz called it as Cape of Storms. That is what we are writing here, Cape of Storms. So after this, Henry the Navigator, because why he was called as Henry the Navigator? He was very good in the navigation. Henry the Navigator, he was very good in the navigation, and also he established naval college at Lisbon. The person who is Bartholomew Diaz, he was also came from the naval college, established the naval college, Henry Navigator. After the Henry the Navigator, James II, he came to the power in the Portuguese after the Bartholomew Diaz. James II, he called that as a Cape of Good Hopes. What is that? This area called it as Cape of Good Hopes. Cape of Good Hopes. This name was given by the James II. We can go from that area. So after this Bartholomew Diaz, next to 1492, Christopher Columbus. In the year 1492, Christopher Columbus, he also started to discover sea route to India. Yes, in 1492, Christopher Columbus, he started to discover sea route to India. He also tried to contact the sea route to India. During this period, Christopher Columbus, he also started the same route. He came to here and started the same route. Whenever he wanted to cross the Cape of Good Hopes, he returned from here. And he went to this area. This area is called as Bahamas Islands. This area is the Bahamas Islands. He reached to the Bahamas Islands. And he discovered Bahamas Islands. Originally what he said, I discovered India. According to this Christopher Columbus, he discovered India. That's why this area he called as West Indies. That people are called as Red Indians. They were in the red color, so they are called as Red Indians. But originally he discovered a new continent. People doesn't know until that year. That is a new country, new continent. But he did not say that. He said that I discovered India. That is what the concept of the Bartholomew Diaz. Christopher Columbus. After the Christopher Columbus, 1498, Vasco da Gama. In the year 1498, Vasco da Gama, he started to discover sea route to India. Same Vasco da Gama, he also started the same route in 1498. Vasco da Gama, he started the same route. He came to the Cape of Good Hopes. But here he stopped. Some time because he doesn't know how to cross this area. Here he made friendship with Al-Mazoudi, a Arab traveler, Gujarati Arab traveler, helped to the Portuguese. Originally he did not help. He did not reveal how to go to India, but third degree treatment was given to the Al-Masudi. Whenever they crossed this with the help of the Al-Masudi, finally they thrown Al-Masudi into the Indian Ocean. They reached to the Madagascar. After the Madagascar, then they reached to the Calicut. In 1498, May 17th, in the 1498, May 17th, Vasco da Gama, he reached to the Calicut, this area. So he discovered sea route to India. 1498, Vasco da Gama discovered sea route to India. 1498, May 17th, he discovered sea route to India. Whenever he came to reach Calicut, Calicut was under the control of the Jamarin. Jamarin is the name of the king. Jamarin, it was the name of the king. But originally he was called as Manu Vikrama Varma. Manu Vikrama Varma. Jamarin was the title. And British, for Portuguese East India Company, they established first trade center at Calicut. Whenever they reached to the Calicut, they started the first trade center at Calicut. But he initially, Jamarin, he accepted to come, but later period, Jamarin did not accept it, but they fight with the Jamarin. Finally, Jamarin was defeated and he accepted. In 1500, Vasco da Gama, he returned to the Portugal. In the 1500, Vasco da Gama, he returned to the Portugal. He returned to the Portugal with 60 times of his expenses. A cargo of the 60 times of his expenses he returned from India. That means he has taken some sample packets. Whenever he sold up that sample packets, he got total expenses into 60 times. 60 times of his expenses with the cargo. So then Portuguese, they started to think about India. If we go to India, definitely we earn more and more money. We will become wealthiest persons if we go to the India. That concept was known by the Portuguese. So again, for Portuguese, 1502 they came to India and they established Gama Fort at Cochin. Cochin became first headquarters of British East India Company, Portuguese East India Company. For the Portuguese first headquarters were the Cochin. Cochin was first headquarters. It continued from 1502 to 1530. From 1502 to 1530, Cochin was the headquarters of the Portuguese in India. Cochin was the first headquarters of India. They constructed Gama Fort at Cochin. After this, in the year 1503, whenever they constructed the fort at Cochin, they appointed a governor to look over the fort. A governor was called as D. Almeida. D. Almeida was the first governor of the Portuguese. He introduced blue water policy. Portuguese governor D. Almeida introduced the blue water policy, that is establishment and development of the sea trade and also development of the naval force. Blue water policy included development of the sea trade, development of the naval force. That was developed by the D. Almeida, first governor of the Portuguese. After the Portuguese governor, Alfonso de Albuquerque, he was the second governor of the Portuguese, Alfonso de Albuquerque. Alfonso de Albuquerque, we can call him as real founder of the Portuguese power in India. real founder of the Portuguese power in India. Real founder of the Portuguese power in India, Alfonso de Albuquerque. Why he introduced different policies? He abolished the blue water policy. This blue water policy was abolished, and he made friendship with the Vijayanagara kingdoms. He made friendship with the Vijayanagara kingdoms. With the help of the Vijayanagara kingdoms in 1510, in the year 1510, Alfonso de Albuquerque, he occupied Goa from the Bijapur Sultans. Remember this. Alfonso de Albuquerque, with the help of the Vijayanagara kingdoms. By this time, in 1510, who was the Vijayanagara ruler? Vijayanagara ruler was Sri Krishna Devaraya. Sri Krishna Devaraya. So, with the help of the Sri Krishna Devaraya, Alfonso de Albuquerque, he occupied Goa from the Bijapur. Coming to the point of the friendship between Vijayanagara kingdom and Portuguese. There occurred friendship between the Vijayanagara and Portuguese. What was that friendship? If you come to that, the friendship, Portuguese will get help from the Vijayanagara. So Vijayanagara rulers, they would give help to the Portuguese. By giving help to the Portuguese, they would send high quality horses, high quality Arabian horses. They would supply, Portuguese would supply high quality Arabian horses to the Vijayanagara rulers, and the Vijayanagara rulers, they would help Portuguese in India. This was the connection. This was the treaty. This was the pact. This was the agreement between the Portuguese and Vijayanagara kingdom. So whenever they occupied this Goa in 1530 they occupied Goa. 1510 they occupied Goa. 1530 Goa became headquarters of Portuguese. By this time, Ninoda Cunha, he was governor of the Portuguese. He shifted headquarters from Cochin to Goa. In 1530, remember in 1530, headquarters were shifted from Cochin to Goa. So Goa continued as the headquarters of the Portuguese from 1530 to 1961. This you have to remember. Like that, you have to remember some points up to when it was continued like that. Who was the governor at the time of the shifting capital from Cochin to Goa? He was Ninoda Cunha. That is what you have to remember. Next to after this Ninoda Cunha, another governor, Alfonso de Souza, Martin Alfonso de Souza period. His period, Christian missionary came to India. That Christian missionary was Xavier, a Christian missionary came to India. This Francis Xavier, Christian missionary Francis Xavier, he was called as Francis Xavier, Christian missionary. This came to India. He was Francis Xavier. He alone converted 7 lakhs Indians, nearly 7 lakhs fishermen into Christianity. Francis Xavier, he was only one person, only alone he converted. Originally fishermen, those who were there at coastal area from Goa to the Tamil Nadu. In that coastal area, some fishermen, nearly 7 lakhs fishermen, were converted into the Christianity because of the Francis Xavier. That's why after the death of the Francis Xavier mummy was preserved. His mummy preserved in Goa church. This mummy preserved in the Goa church. Like this, Portuguese East India Company, they continued, and slowly Portuguese East India Company started to decline. Portuguese East India Company, they established trade centers in the different places like Calicut, Cochin area, and Quilon area, and also Goa. Like that, they established different places. Their settlements were established at different places. Just along with this, coming to the point of the decline of Portuguese power in India. How Portuguese power declined in India? Originally, Portuguese, whenever they came to India, they concentrated only in the western coastal area. They concentrated most part of the western coastal area, and they made friendship with the Vijayanagara rulers. But these Vijayanagara rulers, they were defeated by the Bahmani sultans in 1565 with the Battle of Tallikota. In the Battle of Tallikota, Vijayanagara rulers, they were defeated by the Bahmani kingdoms in 1565. With this decline of the Vijayanagara kingdom was declined. Because of the decline of Vijayanagara kingdom, almost Portuguese power has been started to decline. That is one factor. Another factor, discovery of the Brazil in South American country. Biggest South American country, Brazil was discovered. Portuguese, they concentrated their trade center